The sun rose slowly over Okuta Valley, bathing the land in a warm golden glow. From afar, the valley looked peaceful, but anyone who lived there knew it carried ancient warnings older than the oldest elder's memory. People said the soil remembered everything, every secret, every sin, every broken promise. The wind moved gently through the tall grass, whispering like a grandmother telling stories to restless children. The villagers believed the wind carried the voices of old spirits, the ones who watched over the land long before the first huts were built. Whenever the wind rose at night, mothers pulled their children close and murmured, "Do not answer when the spirits call. They remember what humans forget." Beyond the village, the red clay roads curved like veins through the valley. Each path was marked by the footsteps of generations, farmers, hunters, warriors, and travelers seeking answers they did not always find. The red dust clung to the ankles of all who walked it, as if to remind them, "You belong to this land, and this land belongs to you." Closer to the forest line stood the old shrines. Time had cracked their stones, but no one touched them, especially after the sun fell. Even the bravest hunters refused to walk near those sacred spots in the dark. They believed the spirits returned at night to count the living and whisper warnings for the foolish. Many times, children dared each other to go near the shrines after sunset, but even their mischief ended at the tree-line. Some places were not meant for games. Deep inside the valley lived the oracle, Baba Alayemi, an old man with silver hair and a staff carved with strange symbols. People said he did not sleep like other men. Instead, he listened to the heartbeat of the land. When villagers came seeking guidance, he often paused before answering, as if hearing someone else speak through him. "The valley sees all," he would say softly, "and it remembers more than you think." The elders guarded the rules handed down from the ancestors. Some rules were spoken, but many lived only in the quiet corners of their minds. They taught children never to whistle at night, never to cut certain trees, never to mock the spirits. Breaking a taboo was not just disrespect, it was an invitation for trouble no human could stop. Watching over everything was the temple of Ashiru, standing tall on a rocky hill. Though silent, it felt alive, as if its walls held the breath of the ancestors. Travelers passing by often bowed their heads without being told. The temple did not speak, yet everyone understood its warning. Do not challenge what you do not understand. As the valley settled into its morning rhythm, the air felt heavy, like the calm before a storm. Somewhere deep in the distance, a drumbeat echoed faintly, slow, steady, ancient. It was a sound that hinted of destiny waking from a long sleep, ready to test the hearts of those who lived in Okuta Valley. The land had been quiet for too long. And when the land grows silent, something is always preparing to rise. The evening sun sat low over Okuta Valley, painting the sky in deep orange shades. In a small corner of the village, 4 young men gathered, 4 lives shaped by pain, need, and dreams too heavy for their shoulders. Koda stood a little apart from the others, his eyes tired but burning with determination. His mother's illness had eaten away at her strength for many moons. Every cough she released felt like a knife in his chest. "If I don't find a way," he whispered to himself, "death will take her before dawn chooses to rise again." The others often caught him staring into the distance, like someone fighting shadows no one else could see. Bala broke the silence with his usual crooked grin. He was the one who cracked jokes even when hunger twisted his stomach. "My brothers," he said, spreading his arms wide, "life has beaten us like old drums. But me, I refuse to stay quiet." His laughter was loud, but everyone knew it hid a deep hunger, an unending desire to taste wealth, even if he had to snatch it from the hands of fate itself. Tun sat beside a broken clay pot, sharpening a small blade. His jaw was tight, and anger lived in his eyes like a wild fire searching for new wood. He always compared himself to the rich families on the other side of the valley. "They walk with pride," he muttered, "while we fight for scraps. Why must some people be born into sweetness and others into sorrow?" His voice shook with pride and jealousy, 2 twins that pushed him down dangerous paths. Yemi, the quietest of the 4, kept his gaze on the ground. His guilt followed him everywhere, like a shadow glued to his feet. Months ago, he betrayed his own brother in a moment of weakness, a mistake he wished he could wash away with tears. "I have wronged too many," he said softly when the others asked why he barely spoke. "If the spirits judge me today, I cannot say they are wrong." Despite their differences, the 4 shared one truth: life had been unfair to them. They had grown up sharing the same broken shoes, the same empty plates, the same nights of cold wind sneaking through the cracks of their huts. Poverty glued them together, stronger than blood. "Brothers," Bala said, placing his hand on the dusty ground, "this world has never loved us. We fight, we struggle, we beg, but still, nothing." Koda nodded slowly. "It feels like fate looks at us and turns away." Yemi lifted his head for the first time. Maybe we are meant for something else. Something bigger." Tun's eyes flashed. "Then let us chase it. Let us grab what the world hides from us." Their hearts beat with the same stubborn fire. Dreams whispered to them, dreams of escape, of better days, of finally breaking free from the chains holding them down. And somewhere deep in the valley, a forbidden path waited for their footsteps. Whispers began to travel through Okuta Valley like harmattan wind, soft at first, then sharp enough to cut through every conversation. People spoke in low tones about an ancient oracle hidden deep in the forest, one said to reveal the riches of tomorrow. Some claimed it could show a man the path to endless gold. Others said it granted visions of treasures buried beneath the earth. No one knew the truth, but the rumor alone was enough to stir restless hearts. One evening, a corrupt merchant named Olagbo strutted through the market with new jewels shining on his fingers. Just a few days before, everyone had seen him begging elders for mercy over his debts. Now, he tossed cowries at children and laughed with the arrogance of a man who no longer feared poverty. "Where did he find such wealth?" the villagers murmured. "No trade brings riches that fast." The boys, Koda, Bala, Tund, and Yemi, heard the rumors too. Bala's eyes narrowed with interest. Tund's jealousy sparked like firewood. Even Koda and Yemi, who tried to resist, felt temptation creeping into their thoughts. One night, as they sat under the udala tree, Bala leaned forward. "Brothers, why should the oracle give riches to a wicked man like Olagbo? Are we worse than him?" Tund smirked. "If fate will not bless us, then we will take what we deserve." Yemi swallowed hard. "People say the oracle chooses who it destroys." Koda whispered, "My mother is dying. I cannot watch her fade away. If this oracle can change our future, then maybe the spirits will understand." The old men of the village, the guardians of ancient wisdom, began to sense danger. Baba Alayemi, the respected elder and spiritual guide, felt unease crawling up his spine each time he lit his evening lamp. The wind no longer blew gently. The flames danced in fear. The ancestors were restless. "Something dark is moving," he muttered as he watched the moon rise higher each night. When he visited the young men's homes, he issued a warning carried by heavy memories. "Children," he said, "the oracle does not give. It takes. Many before you followed greed into the forest, and the forest swallowed them whole. Leave the forbidden path." But his words were seeds that fell on hardened soil. The four thieves had already made their choice. Under the bright full moon, believed by villagers to be the time when spiritual power weakens, they gathered near the edge of the forest. Bala checked the rope. Tund held a small blade. Koda carried herbs to steady his mother's breath when he returned. Yemi kept glancing back, heart racing. As they stepped into the night, nature itself seemed to reject them. The owls screamed instead of hooting. The wind blew hot then cold, confused and unsettled. Even the trees rustled angrily, their branches shaking like fingers warning them to turn back. Still, with pride clouding their judgment and desperation pushing their feet forward, the four young men walked deeper into the shadows, chasing a destiny that was never meant for them. The forest watched silently, waiting for the price they would pay. The night held its breath as the four young men crossed the boundary where the village lamps no longer reached. The sky was empty, no moon, no stars, only a dark sheet stretching endlessly above them. Bala whispered, "Be like the heavens close eye tonight," trying to sound bold, but even his voice trembled. The others said nothing. Their feet pressed into the cold earth as they stepped into the forbidden forest, a place their parents spoke of only in frightened whispers. Tall ancient trees rose on both sides of the narrow path, their trunks thick like the legs of giants. Their leaves rustled without wind, as though the trees themselves leaned down to watch the boys pass. Koda glanced around, his heart pounding. "They're staring at us," he muttered. Tund scoffed, "Trees no get eyes." Stop shaking like small goat. But deep inside, even he felt something older than the world watching. A sudden gust of wind rushed through the forest, whistling like a lone flute. It carried a message, one only the wise would understand. Yemi stopped and grabbed Bala's arm. Did you hear that? The wind. It's warning us. Bala forced a laugh. Warning who? Me. A beg, wind fit talk. But his laughter cracked, revealing the fear he tried so hard to hide. Then came the shadows. They slid across the ground like dark fingers stretching toward their ankles. They climbed up the tree trunks, shifting shapes, one moment a crawling beast, the next a crouching human form. Tun stepped on a twig and the sharp crack made them all freeze. Koda whispered shakily, "Maybe the spirits are testing us." "Let them test," Tun growled, marching ahead with stiff pride. "I no fear ordinary shadows." But the shadows were not ordinary. They danced in silence, watching the thieves with hungry curiosity, like spirits deciding whether to scare them or swallow them whole. Koda wiped sweat from his forehead. His mother's weak face flashed in his mind, the way she struggled to breathe each morning. That memory pushed him forward. "I must do this for her," he whispered. "If I stop now, I lose her forever." Bala tried to distract himself, talking non-stop. "When we finish this job, I go buy cloth so fine even chiefs go greet me. Maybe I go even, ah." His foot slipped, and he stumbled. His voice cracked again. Tun shot him a glare. "Your mouth too big. Use it to watch the ground." Behind them, Yemi dragged his feet. Every rustle of leaves reminded him of past betrayals. Faces of those he wronged rose in his mind like smoke from a hidden fire. "What if the spirits know what I did?" he murmured. The guilt pressed on his chest until his breathing grew heavy. They moved deeper until the trees suddenly parted, revealing the ancient temple grounds. A pair of massive stone gates stood ahead, cracked, moss-covered, and trembling faintly as though disturbed after centuries of sleep. As the boys approached, the gates groaned open by themselves, the sound deep and mournful. Bala froze. "Gate dawn open, on its own." "No turning back," Tun said, stepping through. The ground inside shifted beneath their feet. A sand pit suddenly formed, swallowing their legs up to the knee. The sand moved like flowing water, but instead of drowning them, it revealed visions, their deepest regrets. Koda screamed as he saw his mother dying again and again. Bala saw himself stealing from a friend who trusted him. Tun saw his younger brother crying because of his jealousy. Yemi saw the face of a man he betrayed for coins. They struggled out of the pit, breathing hard. Then a white mist curled around them, whispering voices only they could understand. "Koda, you failed her. Bala, your lies will kill you. Tund, pride will bury you. Yemi, betrayal follows you." Tund covered his ears. "Make it stop." But the mist only grew thicker. Ahead stood statues carved like ancient ancestors. Their stone eyes glowed faintly. When Bala reached out and touched one, a red line of blood trickled down its cheek. Yemi staggered back. "These are not statues, they are watching us." Piece by piece, the thieves began to understand. The temple was not a building. It was alive. Every trap, every sound, every shifting shadow was judging them, weighing their intentions like a scale no human could deceive. Koda whispered, "The ancestors, they know why we came." Tund clenched his fist. "Let them know. We will take the oracle and leave. Nothing can stop us." But even as he spoke, the walls trembled softly, as if the temple laughed at their foolish confidence, ready to reveal the next trial waiting in the darkness ahead. The air inside the temple grounds felt tight, as if the walls themselves were listening. Bala wiped sweat from his forehead, though no heat touched him. His voice shook as he whispered, "My brothers, this place is not for men like us. Let us turn back before our shadows stop following us." His words trembled like a child asking for protection, his eyes darting around the sacred ground. Tund laughed, but the sound carried no joy. "Ah, Bala, must your heart always dance like a goat in the rain? We have come too far. Are we children?" His mockery sliced through the group, leaving a quiet wound none wanted to admit. A small crack formed in their brotherhood, thin but dangerous. Koda clenched his fists, his breath quickening. His mind drifted to his mother, lying weak on her mat, her eyes dimming like a dying fire. The thought stabbed him. "We are not turning back," he muttered. "If I return empty-handed, I return to bury her. I will not watch my mother take her last breath while I stand helpless." His voice carried a pain that made even the spirits pause. Yemi stepped back, his chest heavy. Every trial they had faced felt like a finger pointing straight at him. He swallowed hard. Maybe these punishments are for me," he confessed quietly. "For the brother I betrayed. The forest knows. The spirits know. They are reminding me of the face I pushed aside." Shame weighed on him like a heavy pot on a child's head. Silence spread among them, but it was not peaceful. Doubt crawled in their minds. Fear scratched behind their ribs. Each man began watching the others with suspicion, as if betrayal might rise again at any moment. Their unity, strong at the entrance, now shivered like a rope about to snap. The spirits sensed their weakness. A cold wind curled around them, though the air stood still. The leaves rustled without movement. Soft whispers floated in the dark, the way elders warn stubborn children. The sacred ground stirred, restless and offended by the thieves' loud hearts and broken trust. Still, they pushed forward. When they reached the inner chamber, the world shifted. Blue flames rose on tall wooden stands, yet there was no firewood, no smoke. The flames danced slowly, as if welcoming them and warning them at the same time. Their strange light cast long shadows that bent in ways no human shadow should move. Symbols on the walls began to glow, soft at first, then brighter, like eyes opening to watch each step they took. Koda felt them studying him, weighing his intentions, judging the truth inside his fear. In the center of the chamber, floating above a stone pedestal marked with ancient carvings, stood the Oracle of Ashiru. Its form was neither man nor spirit, something in between. Cloaked in mist, it hovered silently, yet its presence pressed on their chests like a father's stern hand. Before it lay the object they had come for, a treasure not shaped like gold or jewels. It shimmered with colors that shifted like human emotions: anger red, sorrow blue, envy green, hope gold. Each color pulsed softly, and with every pulse the chamber seemed to breathe. The floor beneath them vibrated with deep, rhythmic beats. At first, they thought it was their own hearts racing. But as the sound grew stronger, they realized it was something older, ancient chants echoing from the ground, rising from the stones, humming the stories of those who had stood there centuries before. The four men stood frozen, knowing they had stepped into a place where the past breathed, the present trembled, and the future watched with open eyes. And the chamber waited, listening to what their next choice would reveal about their souls. The chamber trembled, though the air was still. The oracle stirred, a low hum rising into a roar that shook the stones and rattled the air like 1,000 drums beating at once. The very energy of the temple flowed outward, curling around the four men, pressing on their chests and urging their hearts to listen. Koda clutched his arms to his chest, his knees weak. The vision came without warning. His mother, lying frail, suddenly healed, laughter returning to her lips. Hope surged in his chest, until the scene twisted. Gold and wealth flowed into Koda's hands, and yet greed clawed at him. He saw her taken from him again, not by death, but by his own desire. His breath caught in horror. "No, no, I can't," he whispered, trembling. Bala staggered back as his vision struck. He saw mountains of gold and riches beyond imagination, yet each coin turned to a cold shadow. He sat alone in a great house, walls echoing his laughter that belonged to no one. Faces of friends he had betrayed stared silently at him. This is all I get? Alone." His voice cracked, the joke leaving his lips hollow. Tun's vision slammed him like a hammer. Power surged through his veins, a throne of fear and conquest before him. Yet every fist he clenched, every enemy he crushed, led him closer to a violent, brutal end. He saw himself falling, bloodied, screaming into a sky that swallowed him whole. "No. This is not the way," he shouted, fists shaking. Yemi's heart ached as the spirits whispered his vision. Forgiveness glimmered like sunlight on water, but only if he would surrender something he held dear. His brother's face swam in his mind, memories of betrayal burning bright. Tears filled his eyes. I will do whatever it takes," he said, voice breaking, but fear kept him frozen. Arguments erupted. Bala shook his head at Koda. This is mine. I deserve it. No. Koda growled. We are desperate, yes, but not at the cost of our souls. Tund slammed his hand on the pedestal. Enough. It belongs to the strongest. Yemi fell to his knees. We are fools, blinded fools. In a single, desperate motion, their hands converged on the oracle. They lifted it together, straining under the weight of the glowing, pulsing presence. The pedestal shuddered violently as the sacred burden was torn from its place. A scream rose from the shadows, ancestral spirits, angry and ancient, their voices cutting through the chamber like jagged lightning. A force like a whip of wind struck the four, tossing them apart. Shining symbols burned briefly onto their skin, hot as molten iron, searing them with the memory of what they had dared to touch. Outside, thunder cracked the heavens. Trees bent, groaned, and stretched as if waking from a nightmare. The forest erupted in fury. Roots twisted, branches snapped, and the earth heaved violently beneath their feet. Stones tumbled and water roared in the nearby stream, protesting the theft. The land itself seemed to breathe, a living entity wounded and enraged by the audacity of men who reached for what was never meant to be stolen. Amid the chaos, the oracle glowed brighter, almost laughing, as if savoring the reckoning that had begun. The moment the oracle rested in Tun's hands, a wild gleam flickered in his eyes. "It is mine," he growled, and without a backward glance, he dashed toward the shadows of the temple's entrance. The shards of blue flame reflected in his sweat-drenched face, and the ground seemed to quake beneath his running feet. Bala lunged after him, fury and fear fueling his movements. "Give it back, Tund. You think you can claim it alone? No." He struck at him with hands desperate to hold the prize, to snatch it from the one who dared move faster. The room echoed with their shouts and the clash of raw human greed. Koda stepped in between them, arms spread wide. "Stop. Listen to yourselves. You think this treasure will save you, but look at what it is doing." His voice trembled, a mixture of fear and pleading. "We were brothers once. Do not let gold turn us into shadows of men." Yemi fell to his knees, hands raised toward the glowing shards. "Return it, before it is too late. Can't you see? The spirits are angry. They will not forgive us while we fight over what was never meant to be ours." His voice cracked, shaking like the wind through dry reeds. The three collided, a storm of fists and fear, their unity unraveling in real time. Each strike, each desperate grab symbolized the collapse of trust that had once bound them. Shadows on the walls twisted with the violence, reflecting four lives now fractured by greed and panic. A sharp, piercing light burst from the oracle. The four men screamed as the powerful object split into four glowing shards, each shard leaping, searing itself to the hand of a thief. Sparks danced across their skin, a burning mark of ownership and curse intertwined. Darkness fell over the forest. The night thickened, swallowing moonlight and stars alike. The trees groaned, bending as if the sky itself pressed upon them. Koda stumbled, visions blurring before his eyes. His mother appeared, lying on the mat, fragile and frail. She died again and again, 1,000 deaths repeating in horrifying rhythm. "No, not like this," he wailed. Bala looked down at his hands and saw gold melting into snakes, writhing and hissing his name. He fell to the ground, terrified, the laughter of his ambitions twisting into screams. Tund froze, seeing invisible enemies charging toward him, spears gleaming in the shadows. He swung wildly, stabbing the air, panicked, unable to defend against the unseen. Yemi shivered as ghostly faces of those he betrayed emerged from the trees. Their eyes burned with accusation, silent and unyielding. Each thief ran blindly through the forest, the land itself punishing them. Roots tore at their feet, winds tore at their bodies, and the heavy, cursed darkness pressed them toward reckoning. Every step reflected the sins they carried, and no man could outrun the justice woven into the very earth. A sudden gust tore through the darkened forest, swirling leaves and dust into the air as though the very earth had risen to reclaim the thieves. They tumbled and spun, struggling against the invisible hands of the wind, until, with a force both terrifying and majestic, they were brought to the base of the ancient Irako tree. Its massive roots stretched like the arms of the ancestors themselves, waiting to judge. Shimmering light emerged, forming the silhouettes of elders, warriors, and guardians. They hovered just above the ground, their faces calm yet unyielding, eyes burning with centuries of wisdom. Each spirit radiated a power that spoke of justice, patience, and the weight of tradition. Koda, Bala, Tund, and Yemi stood frozen, every heartbeat echoing like a drum in the night. A voice rolled through the air like thunder, deep and commanding. "You have broken sacred laws. You have dishonored your families and awakened what should have slept." The words shook the thieves to their core. Koda's hands shook as he clutched the shard, Bala's bravado faltered, Tund's eyes widened in terror, Yemi bowed his head, guilt flooding every thought. The Irako tree pulsed with a soft, otherworldly glow. Its bark shimmered like molten gold, and the wind whispered through its leaves like voices of the past. It was the judge, silent yet resolute, weighing their greed against the laws of their ancestors. Its roots seemed to quiver, and the ground beneath the thieves vibrated as if demanding their answer. "You will each choose," the spirits intoned, "between the path of greed and the path of redemption." Tund's grip on the shard tightened. "I will not let go," he shouted, defiance flashing in his eyes. The earth trembled violently beneath him. A chasm opened, swallowing him whole, leaving only a trail of dust and the faint echo of his screams. Bala hesitated, staring at the shard in his hand. The flames from the tree licked his fingers. I cannot," he whispered, then hardened. "I choose wealth." His skin smoked, turning to ash as sacred fire claimed him. Koda dropped his shard with a trembling sigh, tears streaming down his face. "I accept whatever comes for me and my mother," he murmured, surrendering both fear and desire. Yemi sank to his knees, clutching the earth. "Forgive me," he sobbed, "for my betrayals, for my cowardice, for all the wrongs I have done." The ancestor's light softened, bathing him in warmth as if acknowledging his repentance, the first step toward release from the chains of guilt. A tremor ran through the forest as the ancestors exhaled their final judgment. The air vibrated, carrying whispers of old spirits and the distant cries of those who had once dared defy the sacred ways. Trees bowed, leaves rustled in a rhythm older than memory, and a shockwave of shimmering light coursed through the land, weaving through roots, rivers, and the red clay paths of Okuta Valley. The four glowing shards lifted, trembling as if aware of their purpose, then merged into a single radiant form that rose slowly toward the temple of Ashiru. Its ascent carried a sense of inevitability, a reminder that destiny cannot be stolen, only respected. The forest seemed to exhale, a long sigh of relief as silence fell, thick and profound. Moments passed, and then the birds returned, the wind softened, and the river whispered its gentle song once more. Peace had returned, but a peace that bore witness to lessons learned in fire, blood, and tears. Koda and Yemi emerged, their bodies bruised and trembling, eyes wide as if they had seen both the depths of hell and the mercy of the gods. The villagers froze in shock, mouths parted, hearts pounding. The two men seemed almost like spirits themselves, dragged back from a world few dared imagine. Baba Alayemi stepped forward, staff striking the earth with authority, the sound resonating like the drumbeat of the ancestors themselves. "Fate," he intoned, voice carrying over the hushed crowd, "always straightens the path that crooked hearts try to bend." Mothers whispered prayers under their breath, children clutched their mothers' wrappers in fear, and elders shook their heads slowly, the weight of generations reflected in their eyes. Koda lowered his gaze, trembling as he whispered, We are alive, thanks to them." Yemi's lips moved silently in prayer, a vow to rebuild, to honor what remained, and to never again let greed blind his heart. In that moment, the valley held its breath, acknowledging that justice, though severe, had restored the balance of life, honor, and destiny. Koda knelt at the edge of the village well, water dripping from his hands as he filled heavy clay pots. His eyes, once clouded with desperation and greed, now gleamed with quiet determination. "No more shortcuts," he whispered to himself, voice trembling with resolve. "I will serve those who have always served the land, the people, and the spirits that watch us all." He carried bundles of firewood to the huts of widows, cleared weeds from long-abandoned fields, and helped children fetch water, each action a silent prayer of renewal. Villagers watched cautiously at first, whispering among themselves, but slowly, the rhythm of Koda's work became the heartbeat of the community. Yemi approached those he had betrayed, bowing his head, hands trembling in humility. "I wronged you," he said softly to an elder whose trade he had sabotaged. "I ask forgiveness, not for my sake, but to set right what I have broken." Some villagers turned away, their mistrust sharp as the thorned bushes that lined the paths. Yet his patient service, day after day, softened even the most wounded hearts. Together, Koda and Yemi's labor and humility became more than action, it became a living warning. Children followed them into the fields, imitating their care. Elders nodded knowingly, seeing that the lessons of greed, betrayal, and repentance had taken root. Their changed lives echoed across the village like the steady beat of a drum, cautioning those who would seek power or wealth without wisdom. By the firelight one evening, the narrator's voice rose above the crackling flames, soft yet commanding. "Listen well, children," he said, "for those who chase power without wisdom invite spirits that shatter arrogant hearts. But confession, humility, and a true turning of the soul can bring even the lost back home." His words drifted through the village, carried by the night air, becoming a proverb whispered from mouth to ear, ensuring that the lessons of Koda, Yemi, and the Oracle of Ashiru would endure for generations yet to come. Night draped its velvet cloak over the forest, and the temple of Ashiru rested in quiet dignity, deep among the towering trees. Its stone walls, weathered by centuries, seemed to breathe with the memory of countless lives, each whispering tales of greed, courage, and the balance of spirits and men. A soft, ethereal glow pulsed from the carved walls, like a heart that had survived storms, wars, and the hands of thieves. It was not merely light, but the rhythm of power still alive, a reminder that the spirits within were awake, vigilant, and patient. The wind moved gently through the branches, carrying a hushed warning to any who might wander too boldly into the forest. "Remember," it seemed to whisper, "not all treasure is meant for mortal hands. Some gifts come only to those who honor the path and the spirits that guard it." The temple waited, silent yet alive, a sentinel over the valley and the memories of those who had dared trespass. Its presence was both caution and invitation, a lesson etched in stone. Destiny is not stolen, nor can it be forced. It can only be earned through respect, humility, and the courage to face one's own heart. And as the forest held its breath under the blanket of night, the temple's glow faded slowly into the darkness, leaving the whisper of ancient power to echo softly through the leaves, carrying the story forward to generations yet to come.